if the spirit is Ludwig, we kind of know what he likes at this point.
Attractive men.
What we have to do is we have to find a swan and kill it, and throw that into something. I think.
Hi, did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Anything new?
Yes, you had a phone call.
Really?
A man named Professor Barkley. He said you had his number.
I do. Thanks.
See how happy, like everybody, like it's so nice now. Like everyone's smiling.
They don't even hate each other a little bit
No
anymore.
ill. Yeah, nothing remaining about how she broke into her room, accused her of being a hussy, yelled at her repeatedly, came uninvited into her house. For fuck's sake. And this won't happen until you've done a bunch of other stuff.
Oh my god.
That's how it used to be.
When was this?
95.
Hello?
We
Hi,
had
Professor Barkley.
touch-tone phones
It's
by
Grace.
then.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I have a name for you. It's Herr Josef Dahlmeier, and he specializes in Bavarian history, and I think he's somewhere near you are.
Herr Josef Dahlmeier. Great, got a number?
Yeah, I do. It's 4982-555-2234.
Thanks a lot. Sorry about the bother.
That's no bother. When are you coming back to school, Gracie?
When I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Well, be good.
Be good.
Good.
Okay. Sure thing.
I certainly won't be breaking into any furniture at the museum.
Heavens no.
So let's call Dahlmeier. He's a Ludwig expert, and he's conveniently located.
Hallo?
Hallo, sind Sie Herr Josef Dahlmeier?
Yeah, you must be Grace Nakamura, the American history student.
Yes,
I hear you're interested in Ludwig II.
very.
Good. There's something I want to show you. Drive to Berg on Starnberger See. Meet me at the Memorial Chapel.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait. Was there anything you wanted me to look into before we meet?
Well, I was hoping you knew something about someone called the Black Wolf. He was a contemporary of Ludwig's. He lived in Prussia, I think, and he was well connected.
Never heard of him, but I'll check. See you there.
Thanks. Bye.
It doesn't seem like, even though they've heard of Louis, that anyone has ever connected Louis to somebody named the Black Wolf. In which case, we might have figured something out that nobody else has.
Haha.
Of course, it's fictional. Well, you've got to have some advantage, right? Why wouldn't they have already found who this Louis guy was?
They're very stupid there.
These people spent their lives studying this guy. They probably would have thought of that.
Maybe they're all just really bad at it.
Okay.
Lots of people are bad at their jobs.
Well, like the cops, I guess. We're supposed to think
yeah,
they're pretty bad at
they're
their job.
totally inept.
Well, hey, they didn't bother questioning the zoo guy, and then, yeah, it doesn't seem like they looked very hard into
It's a memorial chapel.
Klingman, as we did. But then again, we also probably committed a crime in doing so.
Oh, what's a little crime?
We also hit a clock in a tree, which I don't think that most cops are going to think to do.
This is where he died. You must be Grace. Herr Dahlmeier.
Hello.
Josef. I didn't mean to startle you. I wanted you to see it. I feel him here the most, you know, more than at the castle. So, what did you want to know?
Dialogue
Well.
tree. Her feminine wiles are not going to work on this man.
Professor Barclay says your hobby is Ludwig.
Yes. He was the last real king that Bavaria had. As a Bavarian and a history buff, well, that's enough to hook me right there.
But there's more, right?
He was a romantic, you know. A dreamer. And he was misunderstood, maligned. And
Sounds like you can relate.
me? Hell, I have it easy. At least I live in the 1990s. And not every eye in the country is on me. But yes, I can relate.
How did Grace figure out that Dahlmeyer's gay so quickly?
Look at his hair.
Well, still.
Tell me about Ludwig.
I don't know where to start. There's so much. Politically, the most significant thing about Ludwig II was that he signed over independent Bavarian statehood to Prussia in 1870. Bavaria became a part of United Germany, and Ludwig became a figurehead prince under the Prussian Kaiser.
Why do you think he did that?
Bavaria had been involved in the 100 Years' War. People were tired of fighting. Prussia's push to unite the German states made some amount of sense. Still, Ludwig must have had other options. At the very least, he should have negotiated better terms.
So what was the real reason?
He was manipulated by Bismarck. At least that's what I think, anyway.
Manipulated how?
Not to be confused with
Tell me
Bismarck.
about Bismarck.
Bismarck. He was the
That
Prussian
asshole.
Kaiser's chancellor. Not a nice man. Bismarck had a reputation for learning people's weaknesses and manipulating them. It's a matter of record that he had spies on Ludwig's staff. He may even have had a henchman even closer to the king. And he was involved in the conspiracy to declare Ludwig insane.
Okie dokie. He was pretty insane, though.
What about
Ludwig personally?
You'll find two perspectives on Ludwig. The view the tourists get is the romantic ideal, Ludwig the tormented loner. Then there is the historian's point of view. Ludwig was plagued with guilt over his sexual orientation and was driven mad with self-loathing.
But I take it you're not buying either point of view.
Well, it's all too convenient, isn't it? That he was a devout Catholic, there is no question, and I'm sure there were pressures on him to be normal. But he was no prude. He loved Byron. Yes. Philosophy, the French court. If anything, Ludwig was too much an egomaniac. He didn't give a damn what anyone thought. And besides, he didn't try to hide any of his relationships. If he suffered from anything in his romantic life, it was disillusionment. No one loved him back as purely as he himself loved.
Well, if it wasn't sexual guilt that tormented him, what was it?
Werewolf
I don't
guilt.
know. His diary was filled with self-guilt, but I'm sure it's not about that. If I knew, I'd write my own book, set the record straight, so to speak.
Ha. Straight.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you know about Ludwig's hunting accident?
A couple of years ago, I was introduced to this great old man, a real old world farmer. Well, his grandfather was Richard Horning, Ludwig's equestrian. Oh, he told some great Ludwig stories. Sometimes I get lucky. Anyway, he said that after the hunting accident, Ludwig got terribly ill, that he had a fever and was acting crazy. They were afraid that the wolf had been carrying a disease or that the bite had gone septic.
A wolf bit him?
Yeah, it's not so unusual. There were a lot of wolves in the Alps back then. The servants were really worried, but Ludwig recovered, physically anyway. Horning's grandfather said it was the fever that broke Ludwig's mind, that he was worse than ever after that.
He turned into a werewolf.
Yep.
He became a werewolf.
What do you mean Ludwig got worse after the accident?
He got all bitey and shit.
Ludwig
Wolfish.
always had been a very private person. But after the accident, he got darker, more crazy. Towards the end, he was even forcing his servants to enter his chambers bent over so they couldn't see his face. Horning's grandfather said his temper was fearsome. He would fly into a rage at the least mistake.
Must have been terrified of him.
Yes, well. Horning's grandfather felt sorry for Ludwig, and Ludwig hated his own violence. He was always giving gifts to his servants to apologize.
Have you read anything about Ludwig's midnight sleigh rides?
Oh, would that have been something? To be out at night and suddenly see him sweep by with his entourage? They say the night agitated Ludwig, and that being outdoors and the rushing feeling of the sleigh calmed him down. Sometimes even the sleigh wasn't enough. He would stop in some remote woods, order his servants to stay put, and go wandering off by himself for hours. It drove the servants crazy.
Was he hunting deer or the most dangerous game?
You mentioned that there were other reasons why Ludwig's servants feared him.
Ah, that's another of Horning's mysteries. There's a story about Neuschwanstein. Apparently there was a period of time of 2 or 3 months when Wagner would come and visit him
Wagner?
there. Yeah. The two would lock themselves in the singers' hall. Horning's grandfather said the sounds that came from there were awful. Well, the servants had superstitious minds anyway. Some of them quit over it, just walked away.
What kind of sounds?
Horning's grandfather called them heartbreaking and ungodly. Maybe it was Wagner trying to sing.
See, because he's a bad singer.
Did you find out anything about the Black Wolf?
I did. I'd read about him before, but I hadn't realized that was who you were talking about. His name was Godin, Paul Godin. I found a reference to his being called the Black Wolf after you telephoned.
I've never heard of him. Who was he?
Godin lived on the fringes of the Prussian court. He was handsome, charming, dangerous, or so they say. He was variously rumored to have been a foreign prince, a Prussian spy, even an assassin. Since you were interested in him, I found out some things that are probably true. It said he came from abroad in the mid-1800s, but claimed high German blood.
Do you know where he came from?
No. And he was ruthlessly ambitious. He probably found out who held the power, Bismarck, and offered his services. Bismarck was a good judge of talent, of that sort anyway.
So that's an alternative hypothesis.
What else do you know about Godin?
He must have done something remarkable. Bismarck was not a generous man. He liked to string people along with promises, but rarely came through. He did for Godin, though. He gave him a royal title and lands in 1863. And that was the last reference I found to him.
Well, how could he just disappear?
It's not that unusual. Back then, when you were given a title, you usually changed your name and moved to a place where no one knew your past, so you could act with impunity, or be a pompous ass and get away with it.
It's very funny.
Is there any way to find out what Godin was called after he got his title?
Is it that critical?
It might be.
Well, you could send away for a copy of the entitlement deed, assuming it has been destroyed during one of the wars. Godin's new name would be on it. But you would need a research permit from the government to access those records, and they can be very hard to get. A lot of red tape.
Great. You know about Ludwig's diary, right?
Of course.
How can I get my hands on it?
I'm sorry. I have been trying myself for 5 years. They keep it locked up tight in the Royal Archives, and they don't let it out. They must think it contains things that will hurt his image.
They won't let anyone see it, not ever?
Only one person outside of the government ever got to see it, a biographer, Sir Richmond Chapel. He had friends among the German royals, and they let him look at it.
Did you ever try to contact Chapel? Pick his brain?
No? And I don't believe I never thought of that. If you do and you find out anything, you must share.
It's a promise. Well, I guess that's all for now. Thanks for your help.
It's my pleasure. And if you ever want to talk again, just give me a call. I'll meet you down.
I will. Thanks.
Servus.
Bye.
I guess that's in case you didn't already have all the conversation topics open. But he's gonna go there
This
again.
is where they found Ludwig's body.
Like they can't meet at his house.
No. Not at a cafe, not just
I wonder what it
here.
felt like under there.
Cold and wet.
So that's where Ludwig died. If we want to contact him, it would sort of make sense to do it there. It's not clear how we're going to do that. We know that he liked swans. So like I said, we could find and kill a swan.
He liked a person named Louis. We can find and kill him.
Kill a Louis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can bring him.
Hi, Gerda. I'm back.
Good.
They're so happy.
So we're besties now, because you kind of apologized.
Yeah, she did.
It was kind of a
Gerda.
shouty apology. But
Yes?
Well, yeah.
Gerda, do you have any idea where I could get a government research permit? I don't have time for a lot of red tape.
You should ask Herr Übergrau. He can maybe get such things very fast.
You think? I was gonna write Gabriel today anyway.
What does that smile mean?
Oh, you're going to write Gabriel.
You can ask Gerda about Gabriel, but she'll just say that she doesn't know where he is, which is true, I think. Was there was something else that Ludwig liked other than swans? But first, we should try contacting Chapel.
We could pitch a lily into the lake, I guess.
A lily, that's an idea. Where would we find such a lily?
A florist.
We've actually seen lilies growing somewhere. Got a lot of swords on the wall.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pick one up.
Hallo, Bertil München.
Hi, I have a book of yours on Ludwig II. The author's name is Sir Richmond Chapel.
Yes, how can I help you?
This book
Well,
sucks.
I'm doing some research on Ludwig, and I was hoping you could get me in contact with the author.
I'm afraid Sir Richmond Chapel is deceased.
Oh, well, we'll have to contact him some
However,
other
his
way
son
then.
is living.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, is there any way you can put me in touch with him?
And who are you doing this research for?
Well, I'm working with Professor Barkley from Yale University.
All right. Thomas Chapel's number in England is 41 20 555 771.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.
Pretty sure that's the same secretary for Grossberg. Because they only got one voice actress to be the phone girl. Stuffy British man.
Chapel residence.
Hi, my name is Grace Nakamura. I'm calling from Rittersburg, Germany. Is Thomas Chapel there, please?
Speaking. What may I do for you, Miss Nakamura?
This is gonna sound crazy, but I have a copy of your father's biography on Ludwig II. I understand he had access to Ludwig's diary.
Yes.
Well, I'm not even sure. He didn't make a copy of it or anything, did he? Or perhaps he took good notes?
He wrote down a complete translation in English. He said he couldn't make headway with the German version. Ludwig's handwriting was rather brogue, you know.
He wrote down an English translation. Do you still have it?
Well, unfortunately, my father was allowed to see the diary only on the grounds that he wouldn't publish the entire work. I can't let you see it. Have you tried contacting the National Archive?
No, I don't have the kinds of connections your father did, or the time.
That's unfortunate, but I really cannot let it out of my hands.
I understand. It was just a shot in the dark.
Very well. The best of luck to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapel.
Well,
I should get a letter off to Gabriel. I need to include a note to Übergrau about the research permit.
that didn't work out. We need to change our luck. And the only way of doing that is to, like you said, throw a lily into the water and hope that Ludwig reaches out to that British guy with a significant amount of balding to reconsider sending us a copy of the diary. I'm not really sure how he would know where to send it.
To Rittersburg, just generally.
Did she say that she was in Rittersburg?
I think she did.
Oh, okay. So she'll just he'll just send off a copy to Rittersburg. And
Yeah,
that works in Britain.
They'll know who
They're they're friendly in Britain. I don't think they're gonna be like, okay, just take it somewhere in Germany. All right, yeah, no problem.
Just take it to the post office in Rittersburg. It's a small town. They'll know.
So I mean, we're gonna try getting a research permit, but there's no real reason to think that will happen very quickly.
I don't want to mail that.
I don't want to mail that. It's really snide.
Kann ich diesen Brief versenden?
Ja, dreimal bitte.
Yes, you are allowed to mail this letter. There's nothing suspicious about it.
Dankeschön.
Bitte sehr. Brauchen Sie noch etwas?
Nope. Leave. I guess you're screwed if you can't kind of figure out what she's saying. You'll think you're supposed to do something rather than just leave. Here were the lilies that we saw earlier. They weren't open. So God has intervened and made these flowers bloom.
That or, sun.
In like one day?
I think
Do they open? Oh,
Gibt's das
I
denn,
thought
die
lilies didn't
Lilienblühen
open.
schon?
Sehr schön.
Ja, aber es ist doch noch so kalt. Für Sie ein Geschenk von der Madonna.
Oh no.
Nehmen Sie sie ruhig. Heute Nacht wird es kalt und sie wird sowieso erfrieren.
I think he's saying that the flowers are going to die soon anyway.
Thank you.
Because it's cold. I'm not perfectly sure, but he referred several times to it being cold, and he was surprised that the lilies had bloomed in cold weather, and you may as well take one. I didn't catch what he said about the Madonna.
maybe he thinks she's going to give one to the Madonna.
What's the deal with the black Madonna?
I have no idea.
Is that like a Kwanzaa thing? Is there a black?
Well, she was just wearing a black robe.
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
she?
No, I don't know.
All I know is the painting that Grace looked at.
Yeah.
She wasn't a black person, I don't think.
Okay.
Don't seem to remember that being the case.
Let's toss this lily in the water. See if we can get a parlay with the ghost of Ludwig.
Right.
I'm sure this will work. Why wouldn't it?
I'm trying to figure out what you want me to do. But I need more information to work with. If you can send any my way, I'd appreciate it.
Poof. Okay, let's head back to the castle. Since we don't know what else to do.
His castle or our castle?
To our castle. You can actually go back to Neuschwanstein and look at the door again. But she'll just wonder aloud about a little bit more in detail about why he was trying to get to the tower.
You just had a phone call. It was Frau Gelder at the post office. She said a fax came in for you there.
Really? I wonder what it was.
Maybe it's from Gabriel.
Don't hold your breath.
Still got a little...
Yeah, even that's kind of rude.
Yeah, it was rude.
Don't hold your breath.
You
Like,
don't hold your
what?
breath.
I mean, you could say that in a less bitchy, more like
Well,
deprecating toward Gabriel rather than...
I think that was her point, but...
Well, I mean, then you would say from Gabriel, don't hold your breath, or,
Right,
something,
yeah.
like,
She didn't have to be so curt.
not like, that's stupid.
We have a fax from Ludwig II.
Hallo, Frau Gelder.
Yeah.
Haben Sie etwas für mich?
Ja, ein Fax. Ein sehr langes Fax.
A very long fax.
Das ist aber nicht vom Schattenjäger.
Ist okay. Dankeschön.
It's not from the Schottenjäger.
Thomas Chapel. Oh.
Is that your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Or whatever. however
Yeah,
you say-
whoever we get any correspondence from, we're obviously screwing. Ms. Nakamura, I seem to have had a change of heart. Okay, so he sent us the translation.
11th June 1872. Louis has convinced me to think matters through more thoroughly before I act. A trip it shall be then, to Shahin. It shall not alter my purpose, I feel, nor shall his compelling. The treaty is the ruin of my beloved Bavaria, and must be taken to task.
Shahin is where he was bitten by a wolf.
3rd July 1872. The pain gets so bad I cannot hold a pen to write, but the horror is far worse than the pain. He says it was an accident, says that we can truly be one now, that it is a great adventure. I believe him 1 minute, and the next I can feel the flames of hell upon my heels. May God have mercy on my soul. 5th January 1874. By the power of Mary, Mother of God, I swear to refrain from the ultimate sin and to remain steadfast in my flesh. Sworn by the power of the lily, Eleanor.
That's eating a person. He doesn't want to eat it.
30th August 1879. I will not falter, but will remain true. No matter the torment or longing, I will not yield. I will control the process. God grant me strength and will. By the grace and power of the monarchy and its allegiance. De Paul Leroy, Eleanor.
What is Eleanor?
10th September 1880. It is all finished. Elizabeth warned me, and I discovered the truth at last. O most venomous viper at my very bosom, O lowest of the least worthy who ever breathed, my Judas, my devil, if I could tear my heart out and fling it after him in the dirt, I would.
Dramatic.
12th December 1880. He continues to come, the devil. I will never look upon his hideous face again. He is afraid I will tell, and I might. To destroy him, I might. When I think of the accident, now that things are clear, I wonder, was it truly an accident, or was it the plot to kill me? If so, why did he not complete it then, instead of putting me in this torment? Could he have hated me so? I wish to God he had simply ended it there. 10th June 1881. Terror. Rapture. During W's music tonight, I felt a pulling. The horror nearly came upon me right there. Then the music turned, and it was gone. What can it mean? I must confide in the great friend. Perhaps he will know what has happened. 2nd August 1882. The experiments go better and better. W has proved as loyal and determined as ever I believed he would be in a matter of my salvation. He says he has the formula now. It remains only to put the finishing touches on the completed opera and to draw up the diagram for the crystals. Can it truly end? I scarce dare to hope. April 1883. The great friend is dead. How unjust that he should be taken from me now. Where is my chance at salvation? Why has God condemned me twice? 10th October 1885. There must be made clear funds for the crystals. Lies. Everyone lies. My own servants. What must I do? Must I sell one of my beloved castles? The crystals must be made. I grow daily less able to control my own will. How long will I be able to resist the ultimate sin? And the music is worthless without the device. Time is running out. The crystals must be made.
So, I think that we're supposed to assume that the pulling means that he was at one of Wagner's operas, and he felt like he was about to turn into a wolf. So, Wagner and him hatched a plan. We don't really know what the details of the plan were, but it has something to do with the fact that the music had the ability to make a werewolf change into a wolf, no matter what.
Was it a plot to entrap?
Have you heard of Ludwig's diary?
Could be.
Yeah, or was it curative?
No one is allowed to see it.
It just so happens that I have a copy of an English translation right here. There's something I wanted to show you. Read this one.
August 1882. The experiments go better and better. play has proved as loyal and determined as ever. It remains only to put the finishing touches on the completed opera and to make up the diagram for the crystal. My God! Wait, I want to show you something.
He's so like do a sneaky look.
I am not supposed to have looked at this myself, but I am here alone all day, so...
You should put those white gloves on that they wear around rare volumes. You don't really want to be touching it.
Well, it's
with
not
your
that old.
Filthy, filthy hands. Yeah, but it's gonna be that old someday. The less you handle it, the better.
Yeah, he'll be dead. He doesn't care.
Well, he should care. He's a historian. No, wait, he's a music guy. Never mind.
Yeah.
July 1881. Richard returned from his meeting with the king. Never have I seen him so pale. I was concerned for his heart. He would not speak with me, but immediately shut himself up in his study and started working on a new project. He will not tell me the first thing about it. He will only say that it was time he repaid his king. It confirms Ludwig's diary. He wasn't crazy.
Yes, but Ludwig says that the opera was completed. Imagine that, completed. There's something else.
He told Wagner something that really shocked him.
August 1882. We had a messenger tonight from the king. He brought a letter which Richard burnt. I did manage to see a bit of it. It said something about a great night in Munich and that it would be Richard's supreme triumph and someone else's destruction. Ludwig then wrote that even though he himself would probably die, his immortal soul would be freed thanks to Richard. I worry for poor Ludwig and for us. Where will we be if his madness continues? Surely someone will put an end to it. Wow.
There's one more.
It certainly doesn't seem curative.
No.
May 1883. I sent Richard's sealed package to the king, as he instructed moments before he closed his eyes forever. I could not even bring myself to care what was in it. What could it matter now? Whatever it is, I hope it brings the king good memories of Richard. He did so much for my beloved.
The package.
Well, just go to the post office and
Ask them for the package.
I'm here to pick up a package.
Presumably, presumably Ludwig got the package, but we don't know what was in it.
We have a pretty good guess.
Maybe.